Welcome back to the Reality Guys. I'm your host, Billy Blinks, joined as always by my co-host, Brian.
Hi, everybody.
But more importantly, as you can see, our special guest here from one of our favorite news shows, and it's being talked about, the Big D on USA Network. We have Angelique Richards, one of the, I don't know if you would call you guys contestants or members or team members. We'll kind of get to that because it's kind of some of my questioning involves that. But thank you for your time.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me.
We're really looking forward to it. So, we want to start with just kind of the general gist here. Like, how did you hear about the show? Who decided to go on the show? I just like the genesis of it is always so interesting to me. So, how did you get started?
For sure. So I started a business and I was like, how do I take this business to the next level? I have a thrifting company. I converted a bus into a thrift shop. So I'm a bus driver too. And I drive around this shop. I have like a little bus driver hat. And I sell clothing that I make. And I'm like, okay, I recently divorced, trying to figure out like, what's my path? I actually talk about this on the show, but it didn't make it. I was recently out of rehab and struggling to like, what am I going to make with my life? And I was like, I think if I went on a reality show, I could build a platform like that. Like it's a great way to build a platform, great way to get exposure. So there's a app called Backstage where you can look at shows to be cast on.
Oh,
so
cool.
I started, so I started looking and I got a call and someone was like, are you divorced by any chance? And I was like, yeah, I actually am. And they're like, are you dating anyone? And I'm like, I'm not dating anyone at the time. And they're like, is your ex? And I'm like, he's not. And they're like, how would you feel about coming to Costa Rica? Or I think it was an island by then. I don't think they told us where we're going. And dating hot people and, having this experience.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like the way I thought it was going to be and kind of pitch, and I'm not sure if I can say this, they might have to edit it out. But it was like, there's going to be a therapist there. It's going to be very healing. You're going to talk about your divorce. I knew it was like dating, but I had no idea the show was about ending in a relationship. No idea. I found that out in elimination. I was sitting and I'm like, I'm supposed to like have a serious relationship with someone. I had no idea we were going to pair off like that. So
yeah, and that's kind of interesting because it's one of my next actual questions I had here. And so, without obviously talking about any of the actual couples or like the results and stuff, how did you feel the environment was for? Or was it conducive to reconciliation, or was it more conducive to kind of conflict?
To be honest, I think it was conflict. I'll be honest, I was there and I thought one thing and I was trying to keep my head above water the whole time. It was like, that situation.
Yeah, what we could get to it. Obviously, like, do you feel like, so this is the thing, and I made the joke when we started this, right? I said, are you a contestant? What is it? Because you were probably the first person, and not in a crazy way, but to kind of introduce the idea of almost the gameplay aspect where you frankly said, well, don't get rid of me. I'm trying. Get rid of that person. They're not trying. That's the Ariel situation. And you had a lot of negative feedback that came your way. So now looking back on it, now seeing it air back, how do you feel about it? Was there part of it? Was it more parts that we didn't see that kind of gassed that situation up? Like, can you give us a little down low on it?
So much. Like, to be honest, when I watched it, I was in shock at how it looked. There was so much, like, you have to keep in mind when you see a reality show, you see about 1% of what actually happens.
Yeah.
So there was so much context behind that conversation. There was a conversation I had previously with Ariel that brought me to that conversation. And even like we ended on such a great note. Me and Ariel were great friends. Like I was just like, ooh, what? Like I was a little blown away by it. But it's the business, baby. How it goes. But there's just so much that happens and goes on that the viewer doesn't see.
Blair stuff, there was really kind of two people. Blair, obviously, it seemed like a quick turn for him to be defensive of his partner who he hadn't been defensive of. But I thought maybe a little bit more surprising was that it seemed like Dean kind of turned on you pretty quick. So was it as sudden of a turn as it seemed for us, or did you feel that building kind of as well?
Well, as I said, you don't see a lot of what happened. There was things. So me and Dean had our date, which was awesome. And there was some things that went on behind the scenes that I was like, oh no, this is not going to work with us. There was things that I can't go into detail about that I was like, oh shit, this is not it for me. And so I had a conversation with him, telling him, I was super upfront, and I was like, hey, after, you know, this and this happened, I can tell this is not going to be a match. I appreciate you. I hope the best for you, and hope, you know, you find someone else, but this isn't going to work. So I was straight up with him. I let him know where I was. And after that, I think he was like, oh, she's toxic.
Yeah, because it really just it like turned on a dime. Like when we were watching that episode, it just like was so instant. I was like, we definitely missed something. But like you said, it's definitely reality TV. We're only seeing what they want us to see.
And it's tough because there's so much context that I feel like, unfortunately, is left out. That I've even heard people talking and like, or I've listened to podcasts and people are like, I'm confused because first Angelique and Dean were hot and heavy, then she's with David, and then Dee Dee wanted first Dean and then Blair, and then now she wants, who was the other? Oh, David. Like then she was interested in David, but what is happening to build this up? Or Casey, all of a sudden she's like calming him down, and the next thing she wants to date. So it's like there's just so much that I feel like I wish you guys were able to see.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing, like what you said there, like I felt like everyone, I think in like episode 2 was like, we don't like the core, and then all of a sudden people like Casey like dying to talk to him at the end of that date. So it's just like totally like what you're saying. It's just But I think Bill and I watch so much reality TV. We are kind of used to this now.
You get it.
There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that you're just confirming that when we talk to people, that's how it is.
It's the highlights, right?
Yes. But sometimes I'm like, oh man, I wish this made more sense. Or they could there's so many moments that were just hilarious or like shocking, or like, I'm not kidding you. In that house, it was the most wild thing I've ever done in my whole life. Like seeing everyone interact and the personalities and the fighting, I'm just like, what is going on here? It was wild. It was wild.
Yeah, they did a good job, I think, with casting a big wide net of couples or extra and people. And I like that. And even just the aspect where you came in alone, and then it like, I mean, we saw in a teaser, I think we can talk about that. Your ex comes in, like that was our whole debate. Like even on, I
heard it, and I was like, oh, I can't wait.
Is he going to be on here? And
I was
like that aspect that we like.
And let me tell you something interesting about this. We were supposed to go on day 1. So we were picked to go on as the first couples, and I'm packed up. I'm ready to go in the house, and I get a call, and they're like, you guys aren't going in the house. Ben has a fever. Now, this was during COVID. And so they quarantined him, and they were like, you might not go on the show.
Oh,
and so I was like, I mean, I flew all the way to Costa Rica. We had to quarantine. It was rough. And then a producer took me on the beach and was like, hey, I need to tell you, your ex-husband's not going to be on the show.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
They're like, we're just sending you on. So the whole time, you guys, when Ben showed up, I was shocked. I had no idea.
You were like, I'm just going for
it. Though.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit. Oh shit, this is gonna get interesting.
Oh no, I actually really, really love that. That's awesome. Brian, I think you had a couple here, right?
Yeah, so like I know you said like you brought, and this is news to us, that there's like that app that you can go on reality TV. Are you a fan of reality TV? Like
I am. Yeah.
What do you like?
You know what's so funny is that me and Ben watched JoJo and Jordan's scene on The Bachelor, and we're like obsessed. Like I wanted to be JoJo. I was just like, they're the cutest. And so it was very funny to see them. But I love like Love is Blind.
Nice.
I love Temptation Island. All of those, you know, the classics.
Yeah.
Ultimatum. Yeah. The Netflix one I like. Yeah.
That's awesome. Obviously, we're huge fans of that type of stuff. So we always love asking people this. Where'd you find us?
Oh, on Twitter.
Nice. Way to go, Brian. Brian does it.
And I thought you guys were really funny and like clever, and I liked your commentary. I was like, I feel like these guys get it.
When I saw the notification that came through, I was like, because I do all the Instagram and the Twitter, and I was like, I forget where I was, and I texted Bill. I was like, I haven't watched this yet, but I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Like if you're being sarcastic or not.
Oh no.
And then as soon as I watched it, I was like, oh, she's being but there's a lot of times people like we get a lot of
mixed bag
stuff. So it's just
I bet. I'm sure that's the name of the business, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think you guys were commenting on getting married at 20 and how rough that would be.
Yep, that's
yeah. It's all good.
We talk so much watch, like we don't even remember what we say.
I know.
What could he be mad about? Like, oh yeah, I guess I did say. And what's funny is some of the people we've been like maybe the meanest to have come on our show, and like we're pretty buddy with. Yeah. I think what people the difference is we aren't. This isn't our job. Like this is just like what we do because we want to be doing it, and we have regular lives besides it. So, and I think I think reality TV, like you said, it definitely is a great uniter. It's a great thing to see, like what the idea of just like what would somebody do in a weird situation is reality. It doesn't mean that because you wouldn't normally be living on an island with a bunch of people in your normal day-to-day life doesn't make it any less real once you were there, right? So without going too much, like how much of it did you feel was real? Like how real was the emotions, everyone? Do you feel like it was real for everyone? Do you think there's varying levels of realness for everyone?
I definitely, like, David was, I had such a genuine, me and David's time together was very real. That whole thing, like, and I think it was, for me, it was such a heavy situation. Like, I mean, dating alone on a reality show is a lot. Doing it for 10 weeks in front of your ex with the goal of ending in a relationship with all the shit that's thrown at you, and then people's opinion and their exes there, and navigating it was like the hardest thing I've ever done. And I can truly say, like, it was, so much of it was real. The drama was 1000% real. Like everything, the arguments, the fighting, like that was all real. And then the connections, you know, they were real as well. Connections. I don't know if you guys saw that reel of them saying connection over and over. The best word.
Brian, anything else you have?
Is there anybody from the show that you are either friends with, talk to still a lot, or keep in touch with?
Me, Lex, and Casey talk every single day, and sometimes multiple times a day. We like are our support group. Like if something comes up, and they know what went down. And so it's nice to, when you see it, it's like, oh man, this didn't feel like my reality or what I experienced. So having that sounding board is so helpful. Me and Ben are such great friends. We co-parent, we have kids together. We see each other all the time. Me and Ben are like, so you'll get to know him, but we have a strong friendship that actually, as hard as it was, the show helped our relationship so much. It was like the closure upfront and personal of what we needed. And it was weirdly healing. So that was a positive that came from it. In the midst of it was heavy, and also David is still very close with.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. For sure. Last thing I have before we close here, anything you want to tease about the remainder of the season, whether it's for yourself or just for the show itself?
Ooh, I don't know what I'm.
I don't want you to get in trouble. Just you guys have to be specific.
That's a hard one. I've been told over and over again to be careful with spoilers.
No, I get it.
But just keep watching and know that I did the best I could.
I actually, you know what? I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Look, Angelique, really appreciate your time, but we want to make sure everyone, the Big D, it airs Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern time, right after the new episodes of Temptation Island. That's this new USA Wednesday night Humpday programming lineup. So obviously make sure you're like and subscribed here. Check out anything Angelique has going on. We'll put her socials up that we find up on our episode description so you can follow everything she has going on. And like we said, we cover also the Temptation Island block of the Wednesday night Humpday. So make sure you're checking out that video review. Will come the same night as the Big D. So for myself, Brian, and thank you, Angelique. Until next time.
Yes, peace. Thank you guys. We'll
thank
see
you.